looks like it's going to work. Okay, we're streaming again. Thank goodness for that. I don't know. We've had troubles with the NBN, so my apologies for the dropout of the YouTube stream. Just refresh your screen, and you should have live missions again. Ah, goodness me! All right, while we've got the YouTube stream, I will go across to Tamitha Scove's latest solar report, and let's hope the internet doesn't drop out while she's talking. Actually, I've downloaded it, so it won't be a problem. But I'm streaming it, so that's the important part. So let's go into Tamitha now for her latest weather report.
We have a coronal hole that's taking center stage while we wait for new regions to rotate into Earth view. Those stories and more in the news this week. This space weather forecast is sponsored in part by Millersville University. Come get certified in broadcast space weather. Visit millersville.edu/SWEN. Although space weather this past week has been a bit of a fizzle, it does look like activity is beginning to pick up. As we take a look at the Earth-facing disk, you can see the cluster of regions in the north. These were the big flare players that were firing off some decent-sized solar flares and some mini solar storms. Sadly, the solar storms really never manifested much activity at Earth. They all kind of went south of Earth. Wasn't it just our luck? But these regions are now rotating to the sun's far side. Then on the 13th, we actually had a filament eruption that launched a solar storm. This is partly Earth-directed, but once again, it looks like it's going to go south of Earth, and we may not get much of it either. If we get any impact, it'll be sometime about midday on the 17th. But the big story is, look past that in the south and you can see this massive coronal hole. This coronal hole is going to be giving us some fast solar wind in about a week's time, and that could bring us some decent aurora. Now granted, this hole has not got the right magnetic polarity to give us sustained aurora, but it could give us a decent burst of it for a short period down to mid-latitudes and definitely up in the high-latitude regions for a couple days. So that's what's the big story when it comes to aurora players, and hopefully aurora photographers will be able to get a decent show after a week of fizzles. Now as we take a look at our far side, this is stereo A and it's looking at the sun just a little bit from the side. You can see those regions in the north rotating off of the west limb in stereo's view, and then you can also see that massive coronal hole in the south. Yet look just past that to the east limb. You can see lots of bright regions gurgling and flickering like that. Well, these set of regions, it means that they're growing when they flicker like that, which means they could be big flare players. If nothing else, they will definitely keep that solar flux boosted into the triple digits, and also keep that radio noise a bit alive on Earth's day side. So at least amateur radio operators and emergency responders expect to have a continued noise on the bands. And for space traffic, well, we'll just have to wait for these regions to rotate more into Earth view to see whether or not we have a risk for big flares once again. Switching to our moon, we are now passing through the third quarter phase on our way to a new moon, and by the 19th, the moon will still be about 23% illuminated. So you night sky watchers, if you want to catch those dim objects in the sky, you're going to need to check your local rise and set times. Switching to our solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, we are anticipating the fast solar wind from that massive coronal hole that's going to be rotating into the Earth strike zone here over the next few days. At high latitudes, NOAA is expecting active to possibly even minor storm conditions with up to about a 50% chance of a major storm. Now, this is going to be right around the 18th or 19th, but remember, we do have that grazing passage from that solar storm that could hit as early as like midday on the 17th. So at high latitudes, we do have a bit of chance for some extended aurora possibilities. But remember, once that coronal hole and the fast solar wind from that coronal hole hits, it's not the right magnetic configuration, so storming may not last in through, the latter part of November. So don't get super excited. It's not expected to be really strong, but it could give us some chances. Now, mid-latitudes, we're only expecting active conditions, but we do have up to about a 25% chance of minor storm conditions. So again, it could give us a chance for some aurora at mid-latitudes, but that would be likely early on when that fast solar wind first hits Earth. So expect it to kind of come on fast and then die down a bit, especially if you're at mid-latitudes. So aurora photographers, this is a chance to see aurora, but it's not going to be the strongest storm you've ever seen. Switching to our solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week, we do have that cluster of active regions that's still moving off of the sun's west limb. This is regions 31, 40, 41, and 45. And as long as those regions are still at least in partial Earth view, we're going to continue to have a risk for big flares. So over the 17th, 18th, and 19th, we do still have an elevated risk for M-class flares, including about a 10% chance of X-class flares over the next 24 hours. Then things will settle down as those regions rotate to the sun's far side and everything will go into the green. Luckily, we do still have solar flux staying up in the triple digits. Don't worry, amateur radio operators, you're still going to get good propagation on Earth's day side. You're just going to notice the noise on the bands begin to quiet down around the 19th and the 20th. Perfect timing for that fast solar wind, right? So you're going to get a disturbance of a different kind at that point. But meanwhile, we do have a small radiation storm risk, about a 10% chance of an S1 risk, and this is due to the fact that those cluster of regions are rotating to the west limb of the sun. But once they rotate behind the sun's limb, we will see that risk go down. So frequent flyers, just kind of pay attention. I doubt we're going to get anything, but just pay attention because we could get radiation storms in and around the next couple days. So the space weather this week is picking up a little bit. The main attraction is that coronal hole that's rotating in through the Earth's strike zone. So aurora photographers, especially if you're at high latitudes, we could get some decent show. Remember, we do have that kind of glancing blow from that solar storm that's going west of Earth, but that could give us enough to kind of begin the aurora festivities, and then we get that fast solar wind in through the 19th and 20th, and it could give you a bit of an extended show. Now, aurora photographers at mid-latitudes, it's not going to be quite so great for you. At about the 19th and 20th is when you could get a little bit of a show, but things may die down quickly after that, so make sure you chase early if you chase at all. Now, amateur radio operators and emergency responders, well, good news for you in the sense that we have those big flare players rotating to the sun's far side here over the next couple days. You're going to notice the noise on the bands is going to get a bit quieter, and that's going to be a wonderful reprieve for you just in time for this solar storm to hit. So, you know, you're going to trade one disturbance for another, but oh well, you'll make it through, I promise. This time it's going to be the solar storm hitting on the Earth's night side, so at least day side propagation should stay in the good range for you. And now you GPS users, well, you know, things aren't too bad. That we got the radio blackouts dying out, so we don't have to worry so much about that. And then this solar storm that's going to hit the Earth's night side, well, that's not such a strong storm after all. So as long as you stay away from aurora and away from those dawn dust terminators, your GPS reception should be pretty good. I'm Tamitha Skov, the Space Weather Woman. Thank you for watching.
Alrighty then. Yep, microphone's up. You're tuned to ASV Radio, VK3 EKH. Thank you, Tamitha Skov, for your latest weather report. And oh, why can't I hear myself? There we go, that's better. Always of value and of interest, and this time particularly good because her forecast is covering this weekend, so it's quite valid for what's coming up. Oh dear. All right, now it's just hit 11 o'clock. I just wanted to go into a quick report here on a meteorite that's fallen. I'll see if I can... it's not a very big article, sort of. Oh, maybe it is. Anyway, I'll skim over it. Okay, there's a picture here, of course. Stream is still working, thank goodness. All right, just quickly. A pristine meteorite found within hours of hitting the Earth. Samples of the Wichicombe meteorite quickly revealed its origins traced back beyond Mars to the asteroid belt, shedding light on the birth of the solar system, November 17, 2022. And what you're seeing there is, I'll read it what it says. This is the largest whole piece recovered in the Wichicombe meteorite 103 grams, found by citizen scientist Mira IHAS on a organised search by the UK planetary science community. And there's actually some vision here which I'll also run, and I'll loop it. Okay, so there was hundreds of webcams or security cams that found that they took this image. So this was one that I quickly downloaded to show to you guys tonight. What's interesting about this particular one image is that it's left a trail. The media's left a trail in the sky, and it's not normally would you see that, but it's interesting how it's left a trail in the sky which just sits there. It's really quite interesting. Anyway, the article continues on to say that about 10 o'clock on the night of February 28, let me just read this for a second. Just trying to see if this is recent or something that's old. I don't know. The article's published November 17, 2022, yet in this first paragraph it tells me it's something that's old. I don't know, maybe I haven't read the whole thing. What it says here, that about 10 o'clock on the night of February 28, 2021, a fireball streaked through the sky over England. The blazing extraterrestrial visitor was seen by more than 1,000 people, and its descent was filmed by 16 dedicated meteor tracking cameras from the UK Fireball Alliance and many dashboard and doorbell cams. With the time difference to Australia, the Global Fireball Observatory team at Curtin University were first to dig into their camera's data, quickly realising that there may be various special meteorites to find around the town of Winchcombe in Gloucestershire. Meteorites are rocks from space that have survived the fiery descent through our atmosphere. They are remnants of our very distant past, around the time the planets were formed, holding clues to what our solar system was like billions of years ago. There are more than 70,000 meteorites in collections around the world, but the Winchcombe meteorite is quite a special one. Why? Well, of all the meteorites ever found, only around 50 have ever been found and seen falling through precision to calculate the original orbit, the path they took to impact Earth. Figuring out the orbit is the only way to understand where the meteorite came from. Okay, just yeah. All right, I'm going to leave that there because it really just sort of hovers in the realm of history. So I don't want to go too much longer on all that. But if you, like I say, if you want to catch up with the article in full detail, again, it's under the astronomy.com website under the news tab, and it's titled "Pristine Meteorite Found Within Hours of Hitting Earth." I thought it was actually a current thing, but it's not necessarily. Anyway, that's all right. That's fine. No worries about that. All right, just a quick rundown of spaceweather.com. The solar wind is currently at 327.3 kilometres a second at a density of 5.95 protons per cubic centimetre. There are. It doesn't look very high res, that image, does it? There are 5 sunspots on the disk of the sun as we speak. The current sunspot number is 64, and the radio sun is currently at 119 solar flux units, measured at a wavelength of 10.7 centimetres. 119 solar flux units. The planetary K index is, or the KP, is now 0.67, referred to as quiet. And yes, I think that's all you need to know there. And spaceweather.com also reports that the geomagnetic storm watch, NOAA forecasters say that there is a chance of a G1 class geomagnetic storms, which Tanya was referring to, on November 20, when a high-speed stream of solar wind is expected to hit Earth. The gaseous material is flowing from a large southern hole in the sun's atmosphere, which you can see in the image on the screen right now. Yep, we're still streaming. And also on spaceweather.com is an interesting bit of footage here, which is, I'll put the loop on. What you're seeing there, yeah, okay. The GOES 16 satellite sees Artemis launch. NOAA's GOES 16 weather satellite is stationed almost directly above Florida, so naturally it saw the launch of NASA's Artemis moon rocket on November 16. The infrared sensors recorded the rocket's hot plume cutting through the atmosphere as it left Earth. So in this image you can actually see the Artemis rocket suddenly bursting through the cloud cover and taking off into orbit, which is captured by the GOES 16 weather satellite. So that's rather interesting footage to see that. It actually makes a hole in the cloud there. You can actually see how there's a hole being punctured by the hot plasma from the rocket engines in the atmosphere there. So that's really quite interesting. This is a Band 8 movie, they call it. Band 8 is an infrared channel at 6.19 microns turned to the thermal glow of water vapor in the clouds. It works well for rockets too, it seems. The Artemis rocket successfully propelled NASA's Orion spacecraft toward the moon. It'll be back in about 25 days after orbiting the moon and safely testing onboard systems for future astronauts. Okay, and the latest aurora over the South Pole is this one. So that's the current aurora over the South Pole. It's not very extensive. I don't think we're going to be seeing too much here on the mainland as we speak. And I think that's about it for space weather. And as I speak, as of November 18, 2022, there are 2,314 potentially hazardous asteroids that we have to worry about. Okay. On that basis, I think we're all safe. Okay, back to me. Alrighty then. So, on that note, we shall conclude tonight's broadcast. I've gone 10 minutes over time. Sorry about that, chaps. I should really time some of these articles and see if I can get them to squeeze into to the hour a bit more precisely. But who cares? Anyway, all right, we have Andrew VK3KIS with a check-in on email. He's been listening on 80 metres. Thanks, Andrew. And also Ian VK3VIN with an email. Interesting broadcast again, he says. No worries. And also a special email there from Sid, a resident listener down there in Cranbourne East. So thanks for the email there, Sid. Good to see that you're still alive. Anyway, all right. We have various people that are on the chat window as well. Kim VK5FUSE is there too, and I think that's about it, really. I thought there was one other. Oh yeah. Hang on, let me just cursor up the screen. Of course, we've got. Yeah, okay, so Rob VK3XRA, Kim VK5FUSE, John VK3BLX, and Steve VK3SPX, and I think Remus was somewhere in there too. So thanks guys for coming up on the chat window and joining in to the general discussions for tonight's session. On that note, we shall conclude our transmission for tonight, this 18th of November. How quick this year has gone. And we shall be back next Friday to do it all again at 10 o'clock. and hopefully we'll have some more accurate and better updates on Artemis that we can show. There was a very good picture taken, a selfie. Artemis took a shot of itself looking back towards Earth about 48 hours ago, and it's a really good selfie. And if I had time to, I would have picked that picture up to show you blokes as well, if you haven't seen it already. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, with a regular Friday night broadcast. Broadcasting since 1988, concluding transmissions on the medium wave service on 1865 kilohertz. We bid everybody who's listening on 1865 a very pleasant good evening. There will be a callback of sorts on 80 metres only. We shall return to our AM transmissions on 160 in the near future. So for those who did enjoy the AM transmissions on 160, bear with us. But we will return back to an AM transmission on 160 in the near future. Meanwhile, the linear that I use for 160 is much happier with the sideband transmission, so that's why I'm doing that at the moment. This is VK3EKH. For more information about the ASV, go to the website at www.asv.org.au. I think that's about it. This is VK3EKH, closing down on 1865 and standby stations on 80 metres. All right, so we're off on 80, on 160, and the volume up on 3541, and got my pen, and I think it's time to take these headphones off. So this is VK3EKH, listening for any stations on wishing to call in on 80 metres. All right, VK3VIN, VK5WA, VK3SPX, and VK3 Delta X-ray. Any other stations wishing to check in? All quiet on the home front. All right, have a say, Ian. VK3VIN, VK3EKH. Yeah, okay, yeah. NVK3VIN kangaroo flat, VK3EKH returning, very good. You're about 15 over 9. There is a considerable amount of lightning static happening in the background, but you're basically above that and coming through quite well. Your signal sounds quite stable. I'm not hearing the phasing that you're referring to at this end, so it's not quite reciprocal. But no, look, you're doing pretty well, so can't complain. Thanks for calling in, and yes, it's always good to have Tamitha. I'm very pleased that she managed to do a recording in the last couple of days, which means that I could pick it up and show tonight with a few days that are still valid, all coming up for this weekend. So all very good. I've got to keep an eye on her YouTube channel for stuff like that. She does a lot of stuff that goes for over an hour, and of course that's a dedicated solar report, and it's way too long for anything else. But I just look forward to her little 8-minute, 10-minute versions that she does in a pocket-size review. Anyway, no worries. Thanks, Ian. No worries at all. Okay, I think it's Dallas. Dallas, VK5 Whiskey Alpha in Hillbank. VK3, I was about to press the wrong button. VK3 EKH.
The Artemis launch might be the only one looking at what's happening with Tweedledee, whatever he is. So, anyway, I won't hold it just in case you're not hearing me. Put it on you there, Clint. Catch you next time.
Yeah, no worries, Dallas. VK5WA, VK3EKH. No, we're hearing you 100%. You're coming through all the static without a problem. Excellent signal into Narre so good copy indeed. And yes, I agree that it was. I'm glad that it was a successful launch, and they finally got the rocket up, and without any problems, as far as I know, it's all going to plan. And of course, there's a lot of people still holding their breath because it's got to be successful. It's got to go to the moon, around the moon, and come back and land. And once it hits the splashes down in the sea, that's when people are going to breathe a sigh of relief. But yes, I think you might have been referring to if Mr. Trump gets back. Don't worry about it; he won't. So I think we'll be right. I think the plan to send a second Artemis 2, and then of course the manned mission is all been slated to occur, and I suspect that. Well, look, I suppose they could still pull the funds and stuff like that if the wrong person decides to say so, which would be a bit of a shame. But let's just see what happens. The next couple of years will be actually interesting, how things unfold in the world. Anyway, we'll see. No worries. Thanks, Dallas. Steve, VK3SBX. Have a say, VK3EKH.
And tons of hydrogen, oxygen, all ready to go. It was pretty scary apparently, and they had to tighten some bolts, which was loose apparently, stop the hydrogen escaping. I thought that was pretty amazing. What else? I used. You mentioned that signal to M13 from Arecibo. I thought that's interesting. I just had a bit of a look at Stellarium. So it's 25,117.4 light years away, right? So the signal's going to get there 25,059 years from now, approximately. and if we get a reply, it'll come late in the 502nd century. So I don't have to be around waiting for that. So I suppose I don't seriously expect that to be happening, but it just struck me as a funny choice where to send your first signal, not expecting a reply very soon. What else? I've been volunteered to write a bit of a sort of astronomy piece for the local Barring Up newsletter here. Mind you, this is like, 4 pages sort of thing, so it's not exactly, a national newspaper. So I've got to write a little bit about astronomy every month or something. So look, don't be surprised. I might get a bit of inspiration from your broadcast, Clint, or maybe I'll just resort to just downright plagiarisation. But it should be fun to see how that goes. All right, thanks very much, Clint. Good broadcast, and hello to everybody else. And I'll stop talking now. VK3EKH, VK3SPX.
Look, not a problem, Steve. All's cool. All's cool. VK3SPX, VK3EKH returning. I agree. I should have been writing notes. You did mention something. I was going to make a comment. It just left me right at this very moment. It doesn't matter, I guess. But yes, it's truth. I can't think of it. It's not coming to me. So I won't labour that one. But look, a good signal report coming into now. I was fiddling here in the shack with other things, so I got distracted. I have to be truthful about that. There was something I was just going to say, because you made a comment on something, but I can't recall what it was. Doesn't matter. That doesn't really matter. All right, thanks, Steve. We'll see you next week. I think I was just going to apologise for the NBN dropping out. I don't know why I should apologise for the NBN, but it's still holding in. I can see the video stream is still holding in. So for those watching the TV images, I'm hoping that you haven't been distracted by the dropout that we went through a moment ago. Anyway, thanks, Steve. I was just hoping to remember that thing, but didn't. Across to you there, Greg, at Warren and All Bull, VK3 Delta X-Ray, VK3 EKH.
Good report, so it seems to be working okay. Yeah, a lot of interest down here, Clint, on the telescopes. A couple of amateurs, Russell, VK3ZQB, over in Port Fairy. So a chap, I just can't think of his name. Hasn't got the call at the moment. He's let us drop, but a lot of interest in that. He does have quite a few different places where he sets up the telescope and allows the people to come in and see things. So so it's all very interesting there. Did you find the Collins amplifier? Second question. Will we see it Sunday soon? We're heading down there, mate. So it's been 2 years since that ham fest has been on. So looking forward to it, mate. Looking forward to it. We'll settle down Geelong, catch the ferry across the bay, and hopefully someone will come and pick us up and transfer us to the ham fest, and then transfer us back, and we'll be able to come home. Good on you, Clint. Thanks very much for running the net, mate. You do a great job, and appreciate the time you put into it. VK3 EKH, VK3, I know you're saying the other call signs, which I use on all the bands. VK3 Delta X-ray. Good on you there, Clint. Over.
Yes, VK3 Delta X-ray down at Warrnambool, VK3 EKH returning. Thank you, Greg, for the kind comments there. Much appreciated. And yeah, look, I've been doing this now for 12 years, I think. I really can't remember when I took over the microphone from Russell. I know I've kept a lot of the logs that I use for all these little sessions. And I suppose I could dig those up and go back and try and find the first date. But anyway, I'm not as regular as the WIA broadcast, of course, and not as what's the expression? Professional as the way the guys do it on the WIA broadcast, making sure that they finish right on the 30-minute mark. Their editing is very good, I must admit. But there is a team, of course. There's a team behind the WIA broadcasts, and that's why it's so spot on. It's just me, myself, and I. I usually squeeze everything in the last 30 minutes before getting on air at 10 o'clock. So I've got all day to do it, but as usual, I compress everything in the last half hour. Been doing that for a while, so I'm kind of used to it. But it doesn't matter. It's all good fun, and I'll continue to do the little 1 hour session here on a Friday night. At least there's some people around that are up and awake and prepared to listen to my monologue and the pictures. And of course, the thing is, I don't mind doing the YouTube stream side of it, because there is a lot of vision and graphics that I can show. There's, of course, the Tamitha's report, which makes it really good now. But when the television repeater VK3RTV is running, I actually I'm more excited to run through the television repeater than I am on YouTube. I mean, there's a very limited audience watching on the RTV repeater, and I don't get a big audience on YouTube either. But I'm more inclined to enjoy the idea of transmitting a TV picture, HT picture through RTV, than I am about the YouTube side of it. But at least with the YouTube stream, it means that people far and wide can see what I'm doing, and whereas RTV is, of course, limited to Melbourne. Well, there is the internet connection to that as well. Let's get off that. Don't need to carry on about that. Thanks, Greg. Good to hear you, and thank you very much, Lee. And your absence has been duly noted, I might add. All right, I'll take one more listen for anybody else wishing to check in. VK3 EKH listening.
Signal report there, Cliff. 20 over. Excellent signal, mate. I love the YouTube stuff.
Thanks, Greg. Yeah, I'll keep it going. It runs because of the vMix program that I use. Interfacing to YouTube is a cinch, and that's why I run it. So why not? That's the bottom line. Why not? All right. Okay. This is VK3 Echo Kilo Hotel, the official station of the Astronomical Society of Victoria, broadcasting since 1988. Thank you for watching and listening, and we'll be back next Friday to do it all again with new items of interest. And everybody have a safe week. Stay warm. It's coming up to another wintry cold blast coming up in the next couple of days. I don't know whether I'll be down at Rosebud. I've just cut a tree down in the backyard to make room for the 3-metre scope dome observatory, and I've got to tackle that tomorrow or this weekend. It's I've got to make sure that I hit straight on it, or else it'll just sit there and being a bit of a nuisance. It's about 15 metre tall pine tree, which came down this afternoon. That's another story. Cheers, everyone. VK3 EKH, concluding transmissions on 3541.
73, Cliff. If we see you, mate. Great job. Cheers.
No, it was great. All right. With the YouTube left, Thank you everybody for watching tonight. It's been a good show, apart from the dropout on the YouTube stream. Sorry about that. Can't have bad luck, as they say. But nevertheless, we'll be back next Friday to do it again. And this courtesy of YouTube, this gets recorded and can be viewed back at any other time if you wish to sit back and go through it again. Anyway, cheers everyone, take care, and Sid, we'll look forward to catching up at some point too. Been great to hear from you as well. This is VK3EKH, don't really need to say that, ASV Radio, concluding transmissions on YouTube, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.